A group of Quebec mayors is calling on the provincial government to create a public rent registry to deal with the growing housing crisis. Now, the rent registry would make it mandatory for landlords to list the price of all past rentals on a publicly accessible database. Guy Caron is the mayor of Rimouski. He is one of the 14 mayors to sign this letter, and he joins us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. In the letter, you point out that Quebec already has a law that's called Clause G, which requires landlords to list the previous tenants' rents on their lease agreements. So why is a rent registry needed as well, in your opinion?
Because not everyone is actually filling it. It's estimated by a poll that was done by Léger that only 20% of landlords are actually filling the amount that was paid in rent by the previous tenant. Landlords are saying it's up to 60%, but it's still insufficient. I'll give you one consequence of this. In Rimouski, the rent has increased by about 26% last year alone. Obviously, that's way above inflation, way above what would be ordinary increases. So we know that some landlords, not all, but some landlords are actually using the lack of housing to actually increase and jack up the prices. So obviously, the registry itself is not going to be a panacea, but in waiting to get a larger supply of housing that will actually create some balance in the market, we see it as an information measure that will help tenants.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned 26%, and that just seems so incredible. According to rental listing platform Zumper, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment across all of Quebec is more than $1,200 a month. That represents a 19% increase year over year. That's sort of broadening it out a bit. What will happen if rental prices are allowed to continue to climb unchecked?
It's becoming unaffordable in Rimouski. I mean, we're not Montreal, but we're seeing on some online classifieds two-bedroom apartments for up to $2,000. We're seeing studios for $700 to $800. This is Rimouski. This is not Montreal. This is not Toronto. And it's happening right now. And it creates a very unaffordable environment, especially for students. Right now, we don't have housing, which is a problem. So students are actually sent by university to study in other campuses outside of Rimouski. But the prices themselves are making it very unaffordable for students, for low-income households to actually lodge themselves. As a result, we're seeing another phenomenon, which was unknown in Rimouski, which is homelessness. We have homeless people now sleeping in some parks and some public areas in Rimouski, which we knew there was some hidden homelessness, but seeing it visible like now is something that was unheard of here.
You have also criticized, Mayor, the recently tabled provincial housing legislation that's known as Bill 31, which, among other things, would allow landlords to reject lease transfers between departing tenants and new ones. Why is that problematic?
Well, this is one of the ways that the rent could be kept down. The cost of the rent, when you transfer the lease from one tenant to another, you're sure that you will actually have a knowledge of what the rent is. It's much more difficult to increase it significantly. So we see it as one aspect of the significant increase in rents that we're seeing. If you're not able to actually have this information, it makes it easier for landlords to simply increase rents by more than is warranted. What is being requested with the registry is nothing else than sharing information. Basically, it's not rent control. It's not government telling landlords how much they have to increase their what's the maximum that they can increase their rent for. It's really an information measure so that the asymmetry of information that we have right now, with landlords knowing something but new tenants not knowing it, would be eliminated.
I want to pick up on something that you touched on really briefly, and that's when it comes to housing. You know, Quebec is no different. They are facing a supply issue when it comes to housing. This is the situation there. According to CMHC, between 2016 and 2020, the demand for housing in the province of Quebec grew at 13 times the pace as the growth in available properties. In your opinion, is enough being done to address that in Quebec?
Well, we have a variety of issues here. When you're looking at social housing or affordable housing, governments can definitely do more. We have 300 to 400 households in Rimouski, which is 50,000 people. So we have 300 to 400 households waiting for social housing. So that definitely has to come directly from government. Now, in terms of private housing, be it rental units or access to property, we have to look at what's going on right now. Obviously, the economic circumstances are not ideal with the increase in interest rates and the cost of construction materials. We have to look also at this point, and we're doing it as a city, to constraints that are regulatory in nature. So we're trying to see if we have some barriers to building, and we're going to find some for sure. Governments have to do its part. The provincial government has to do its part as well, because we're seeing some problems coming from the Ministry of Environment, which actually is blocking some projects for reasons that didn't exist 10, 15 years ago. So we're all for obviously protecting the environment, but when it goes too far and it prevents residential development, it's obviously a barrier to try to mitigate this crisis.
Rimouski Mayor Guy Caron, thanks for coming on Your Morning today. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.